Hello everyone, this is Maya Zahira with Psychic Protection Sanctuary, and we are now starting our Facebook Live in our free Facebook group. It's a support group for people going through psychic protection issues, psychic attack, unwanted paranormal activity, and also dealing with energetic sensitivity and wanting to know how to manage that sensitivity. So if you're watching this, if you're watching the replay, you might be watching it on YouTube or somewhere else. Be sure to come and join us over on the Facebook group. It's called Psychic Protection Sanctuary, and it's the group, not the page. And you can come on and ask questions. We have a weekly Q&A. And right now, people are joining. So hi, everybody. As usual, go ahead and tell us where you're joining from. That way everybody can see that we have people from all over, actually. I'm actually located in the Kansas City area, actually out in the country. Excuse me. And out in the country outside of the Kansas City area. So we have a lot of Kansas and Missouri people that I'm connected with, but we also have people from all over. So go ahead and say hi. And Melissa is here from Kansas City, Missouri. Hello, good to see you. Dina is joining us from Shawnee, Kansas. As people are joining, let me go ahead and jump forward and let you know what our topic is. I'm going to be answering a question that I get a lot. And the question is it safe to use a Ouija board and a pendulum? So I'm going to jump into that as well. And I know this totally doesn't matter, but I've got like alfalfa. You remember the show? I don't even remember what that show was, but that alfalfa character had hair sticking straight up. Well, apparently that's what's going on with me today. You guys, those of you who follow me know, like, I got a haircut the day before my birthday. I know this is totally irrelevant. Anyway, I'm still figuring out where to part my hair. And apparently this is the spot where I get all the... And you guys, I know this doesn't have to do with psychic protection, but I got my hair cut really short many years ago. And it was so horrible because I have this problem with, I have like some hair that sticks straight up. And so that's one of the reasons why I have long hair, is because it like weighs it down. Anyway, so now you know I'm a real person, and I have crazy stuff and weird hair days and stuff. I'm a real person, and I do help people with psychic protection issues. Anyway, that was just a little side note. So Nikki is joining us from Butler, Missouri. Becky, the Little Rascals. Yes. Oh my God. So years ago, the pixie cuts were really cute. A lot of women were wearing these like really short pixie cuts. And this one hairdresser begged me to he really wanted to do that haircut on me. And he did. And it was like the most horrible thing. That's how I discovered that I had the Little Rascals hair issue. So, hey, Susan, good to see you. Yeah, so anyway, that has nothing to do with psychic protection, just goofiness. Sherry, tell us where you're joining from. Okay, so one of the reasons why the question about Ouija boards and pendulums comes up is because I do teach how to use a pendulum in some of my mentorship programs. Some of my educational programs where I'm helping people learn how to check themselves for entity attachments and how to work with clients. And one of the tools that I use is a pendulum. So yeah, Jeannie, it's good to be goofy. Yeah, it's like on purpose. I was telling somebody the other day, because they said they're a business person, business guru kind of person. And they said they do all of their videos where like they have their makeup done and their hair done and they have the backdrop like all perfect. And everything. And I was like, that's so cool, but that's not me. So pretty much every video that you see of me, my hair is going to be sticking straight up, and I'm just going to be wearing a t-shirt and just like, you know, whatever. It's just, let's just, because it's not about appearance, right? To me, it's about the information, and also it's okay to be real together, right? So let's get into our topic. I will answer questions at the end. If you have other separate questions, then be ready to type, because at the end, after about a minute, I'll go ahead and end if there's no questions. I forgot to give a couple of announcements. Oh my gosh, you guys, speaking of being real, I feel like I have to sneeze and I don't want to sneeze on camera. I forgot to make this announcement that for those of you who are new to me, you can find more information and lots of free stuff on my website, which is www.psychicprotectionsanctuary.com. And on purpose, I do put a lot of free stuff out there because I want everybody who needs help to be able to get some help, okay? I hope the sneeze doesn't happen. I want everybody to be able to get some help. I know how horrible it is to be going through really challenging issues, scary issues, and to not have like any resources or any help. And so on purpose, I put a lot of resources out there on my YouTube channel, on my website, and on the Facebook group. And I do offer group programs that do have a fee. They do have a monthly fee. And I do offer one-on-one sessions. The one-on-one sessions are not bargain Kmart prices because I'm engaging in spiritual warfare on your behalf. So, and I know not everybody can budget for that, and that's actually why I offer all of this free stuff as well. So no matter what, you're in a good place to receive information and support. Priscilla, good to see you. Joining from Vancouver, Canada. We had the opportunity to speak just a few days ago. Good to see you. I think you're the same Priscilla that I spoke with. Maybe not. Sorry about that if you're a different person. Classes. Oh, okay. I think I lost you guys for a second. In my classes, I teach about how to use a pendulum, and okay, cool. Hi, Priscilla. And a really common question that people who are new to me and don't know all my philosophies about everything, they will often ask, well, is it okay to use a pendulum? And they really connect that with using a Ouija board. So people kind of connect the two. So let me go ahead and split up the two and tell you about both. Now, I like to be able to show you what I'm talking about, but I actually don't have a Ouija board on purpose. I actually, on purpose, don't want to have one in my possession. But let me just tell you what they are. Most people know what they are, but I'm just going to explain it just in case. So a Ouija board, it's spelled O-U-I-J-A, Ouija board. It looks like a Ouija board, but it's pronounced Ouija board. It's also called a spirit board. And it is literally a board. It's like a game board, you know, if you were going to play Monopoly or something. But instead of Monopoly, it's a flat board that has letters and numbers on it. Now the board can be cardboard if you're buying it you can actually buy them at the store in like the games section with Monopoly and the other board games. Or you can buy them at some New Age and metaphysical and witch stores. And when you buy them there, they're usually not just a cardboard board, but more of like a wooden, some of them are plastic. But anyway, it's a flat board and it has numbers. Hi, Kylie from Australia. Good to see you. It has numbers and it has letters. And there's a little piece, it's called a planchette. And it has an opening in the middle of it, and you actually set it on the board. And now the deal is that you're supposed to do it with at least one other person. So you and another person will touch, your hands onto the planchette lightly, and then you call on the spirits. Hi, Lisa. Then you call on the spirits, any spirits that are around, to communicate with you, and the spirit or spirits will actually move the planchette. So you are not moving it. The spirit or spirits are moving it. Now, so it's a form of spirit communication. Okay. So I do have a really strong opinion about about Ouija boards, and it's based on my own professional experience, and with working with clients, and also my own professional experience as a clairvoyant and a clairaudient and an empath and a psychic, and being able to see and sense and feel energy. My firsthand experience again and again has been that the Ouija board it's very risky. I do have colleagues who use Ouija boards. I respect their opinion very much. In fact, I have had a few teachers over the years who love Ouija boards and like collect them. And I like the idea of Ouija boards. It's like, yeah, that sounds really cool. But from my experience, I have had so many different clients contact me who, when we're talking about what their issue is and we're getting to the bottom of it, and I'm doing a psychic reading, what we end up identifying as the cause of their issue was that they were dabbling with a Ouija board, and then that opened things up for a whole bunch of unwanted spirit activity, a whole bunch of unwanted paranormal activity, and then they couldn't get rid of it afterwards, right? Now, if somebody is very, very, very adept, like if they're a master magician and they can master energies around them, that kind of person is probably in a safer position to be able to mess with calling in spirits. I still don't recommend it. That's just who I am because of the work that I do. I tend to err on the side of caution. I don't really understand. I have a lot of colleagues, local and both local and non-local, who enjoy calling stuff in and just playing with it. And I just don't think that's a very good idea, but I also respect other people's free will. If you are not a master magician, then you could really get yourself into trouble with calling in spirits, and without having the knowledge of how to effectively get rid of them, right? So it's just really asking for trouble. My belief also, my interpretation of the Ouija board also, is that it acts as a portal. And a portal is an opening. It's an energetic opening, an energetic doorway that allows energies, entities to pass through, both beneficial and non-beneficial. So, you open that doorway and you really don't know what is coming through. It could be your Aunt Millie, or it could be something else. And another thing that happens quite often is it ends up being something else that pretends to be your Aunt Millie. And then you think it's your aunt, and it's really something else that ends up causing a lot of problems. And that's actually what I call a false light, or an imposter entity. So false light or imposter entity, pretending to be something that it's not. So generally speaking, people do tend to get more troublesome spirits that show up, spirits that are not really who they say they are. The Ouija board is more of it's a game. It's a game. It's a game, or it's seen as a game by some people. Some people look at it in a more serious, respectful way as a spirit communication tool. But either way, it's a dabbling type of tool. Like you're you've had a glass of wine with some friends. Hey, let's pull out the Ouija board. Like the tendency is that it's something that people do when they're dabbling, right? But the majority of the time. And dabbling is never a good idea. Dabbling implies that you don't really know what you're doing, okay? So if you're watching this, anybody who's watching the replay at any point in the future, and you believe yourself to be extremely adept, and this is a tool that you genuinely use with your practice in spirit communication, then I totally respect that. I still don't think it's a good idea, though. I really don't, because I've just had so many clients that we end up going back and realizing that the origin of their unwanted paranormal activity ends up being their dabbling with that Ouija board or some other kind of magical practices. And I love magic, by the way. I have no issue with it. But it's the dabbler thing, when people don't know what they're doing and they're dabbling with stuff, then they get into trouble. Okay, so my opinion about the Ouija board is thumbs down. Do not use it. I respect everybody's free will, but I assume if you've watched this far, you're interested in my opinion based on the work that I've been doing. And based on all of that, I say avoid it. And here's what to do if you have one. If you have a Ouija board, first of all, do not burn it in your bonfire. A lot of people think burning something is a great way to get rid of the energy. But, and this is just, again, my intuitive professional opinion, is that it's not a good idea to burn a Ouija board. It is safer and more effective to go out somewhere on the land, not on your property, but like out in the middle of nowhere, dig a hole, and then bury it face down. If you know a technique for closing a portal, which I'm not going to teach that right now, but if you do know how to close a portal, or if there's some kind of symbols or practice that you use for closing energy, then do that, and then you turn it upside down, put it down in the ground, and you can even say prayers, toss some salt on top of it, and then put the dirt back on top. Okay, so that's what I recommend if you do have a Ouija board. So has anyone had any weird events that have happened using a Ouija board? I'm super curious. Hello, Benjamin. Good to see you. We've had more people join, so go ahead and say hi and where you've joined from, where you're joining from. And Holly, good to see you too. Okay, so I think that's all that I want to say about the Ouija board. Just to recap, that it is a tool for spirit communication. And I believe that it also acts as a portal in which energies can pass through. My job when I'm working with people, when I'm clearing my own space and working with clients, my intent is always to close any portals. You want your space to be energetically safe. It's like you don't want random windows and doors open in your house where anybody walking by can just come on in. And you can do all sorts of great things for protection within the house, but if you have a portal, then stuff can still come in. And that would be, an example of that would be the Ouija board. Okay, and Phyllis is saying, I broke mine into pieces, said a prayer, and threw it in the trash. That was around 35 years ago. Yeah, that feels good. It feels like that resolved it. Benjamin joining us from Lawrence, Kansas. Hey, Ben. Edith is saying, I'm here, just got into my sister's. I think you're in Colorado, aren't you? Susan says, I got one when I was a kid. It was a keychain one I got out of a gumball machine like thing. Even as a keychain, it terrified me the one time my friend and I played with it. Yeah, I totally get that. I understand why you were scared. I do want to just remind everybody that no matter what you're dealing with, whether it's a Ouija board or whatever, to try not to get into an energy of fear, but more just being informed and knowledgeable so that you can take the proper actions and just be aware. That's all. Because that fear energy is actually what will make you more vulnerable to stuff happening. So, and I know, Susan, it sounds like this was a long time ago, but it's just a reminder for everybody. If you're watching this and you're like, oh my God, I have one. Like, don't let yourself get into that energy of fear. Just be calm about it and just, run what I've said through your own filter and figure out how you feel about what I've said and then decide for yourself. And if you would like to get rid of it, then go ahead and figure out the best way that you want to do that. Melissa says, my grandmother had one that was made of wood. We used it as a board to color on. Okay, cool. So the thing is like, if you have it and it's never used, then, so like if you guys were coloring on it and you weren't activating it, I guess activating would be the best word. You weren't activating it, then, it mostly just stays dormant, right? So hopefully there was no spirit activity from that. Susan says, yes, I was in middle school. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions about what they should do about theirs, let me know. Again, I do believe that no matter what I say about any spiritual topic or any topic, I really want you to run it through your own filter, okay? So decide what you think and what you feel about this, all right? So now we're going to go on to pendulums, and a lot of people lump Ouija boards and pendulums together, and they think both of those are really scary and bad for the same reason. And I'm going to explain to you why they are totally different and why I use pendulums all the time and I avoid Ouija boards like the plague. But I want to, I just want to throw in here, I think Ouija boards, like they're cool, right? They're cool, but they're really, they really are a bad idea. So it's my common sense that overrides every time I'm like, ooh, I would love to have one because they just look so cool. And, so I hope you'll let your common sense override any coolness that you might feel about it. So a pendulum is a weighted object on the end of a string or a chain. And we use it to ask yes and no questions. And mine is spinning. I am like, I'm really, really good at using the pendulum. Like there are some people that'll try to hold on to the pendulum and it doesn't move at all. I have a pendulum in every room because anytime I'm trying to get an answer on something, if I don't get it right away, just straight intuitively, I grab my pendulum. And that is, I'll ask questions even about like, should I be taking this supplement today? Or which auto insurance company should I be choosing? From spiritual questions to interpersonal questions to, mundane questions, nutritional supplements, which doctor is the best one for me? Just today I picked up my pendulum. I'm getting ready to relaunch one of my online programs, and I was looking for a platform in which to, I was looking for, should I offer it on my website, or should I do teachable.com, or should I do this one or this one? I had like these 4 choices, and I used my pendulum to check each one and ask yes or no, is this the right option? Yes or no, is this the right option? Yes or no, is this the right option? And so it's a really great tool. But here is how it is way different than a Ouija board. So with a Ouija board, you are calling on spirits. to move the planchette. So that little piece. So you're touching the planchette. You and someone else are touching the planchette. And it's actually the spirit that is moving it, supposedly, right? When you're using a pendulum, you are not asking spirits to move your pendulum. If you are asking spirits to move your pendulum, in my opinion, you are doing the pendulum wrong. I mean, it's up to you to use it however you want, okay? But that's not the standard way to use a pendulum. How a pendulum works is when you're holding it, you are allowing your own energy to move the pendulum. So I'm not going to get into how I have programmed my pendulum that it moves a certain way for yes and a certain way for no and a certain way for maybe. That's actually something that I teach in my paid programs. But I am going to say that it's your energy that actually moves the pendulum. So it's not spirits. It's not even your spirit guide. It shouldn't be. Honestly, if you're asking your spirit guide to move your pendulum for you, I would really recommend that you not do that. I really want you to tap into your own energy and allow your own energy to move the pendulum. And the benefit of using a pendulum is that sometimes your own analytical mind will start to argue over the answer. So you get too much into your brain about your question, right? But then when you use your pendulum, your energy answers your question directly and you get to circumvent your brain. So you don't end up having that overthinking and overanalyzing issue. It just goes straight to an energetic answer. Okay? All right. So spirits are not moving your pendulum. You are. And it's happening on a subtle energetic level. Now, for some people, it takes a while to learn how to work with a pendulum. And other people, they can pick up a pendulum and it works for them right away. Now, there's some things that are very similar to working with a pendulum, and maybe this will help you understand. So if you've ever been to a chiropractor or a holistic practitioner of some kind who did something called muscle testing, also known as kinesiology, on you. So they might have you hold a supplement or hold an object or whatever they're testing you for. And they have you hold your arm up strong and then they try to press your arm down. Or they might be using their hand like this and like checking how strong your fingers are. If it goes weak, if it stays strong, that's a yes. If it goes weak, that's a no, or vice versa. That is a way of testing that, like, if your muscles go weak when you're holding this object, it means that that thing isn't good for you. And if your muscle holds strong, like if you're able to hold your arm up and the chiropractor or whoever can't push your arm down, then that means that your body is holding strong. Okay. So chiropractors, holistic practitioners, lots of different practitioners use what's called kinesiology, and it's used in the medical, some of the alternative medical and scientific fields. Okay, I do muscle testing all the time with myself. I use a finger technique where I hold my two fingers up, and if I can, I try to push my index finger down, whether it's weak or strong. I'm not going to go into exactly how to do that, but I'm just explaining that muscle testing. So if I don't have my pendulum, or if I don't feel like grabbing it and I need to get the answer right away, I just muscle test. So muscle testing and pendulum are the same thing. They're totally interchangeable. It's a method for asking yes or no questions and asking for your physiology to give you the answer. right? So with muscle testing, your muscle will literally go weak. You won't be able to hold your finger up or your arm up. And so your physiology is literally responding to the question. With the pendulum, it's more energetic. You're holding the pendulum, and your energy is allowing the pendulum to move one way or the other. Jeannie is saying, my vet muscle tests my cat for food allergies. Jeannie, I want to know the contact information of your vet, because I wasn't very impressed with the one who lived by me, or the one that I went to. So I would love to hear who you go to when you get a chance. Jeannie and I live fairly close to each other. And Jeannie does muscle testing a lot as well. And we've done muscle testing with supplements and all sorts of things for you, Jeannie. Yeah, and pendulum. We've used the pendulum to test things as well. Phyllis says, interesting, I didn't realize that. Yeah, so now do you see how the Ouija board and the pendulum are so different? It's just like not even the same thing at all. Now, is it possible that you could hold a pendulum, and if you were at some place where you knew there was a lot of spirit activity, you could ask a spirit to move the pendulum for you? You could certainly use it that way if you chose to, but that's really not the standard way to use it. And I also don't recommend that you use it that way. I mean, here's the thing. If you've had a history of unwanted paranormal activity or psychic protection issues, then it's not a good idea to dabble. Now, I know people who do ghost hunting and that sort of thing, and that's their gig. That's the thing that they do, and they use different techniques for communicating with the spirits at that site. And, it's okay that they do that, because it is okay. I wouldn't, because I have had a history of being a target for attack. So I do a lot of things to not put myself in those kinds of situations. But here's the thing, the people who do ghost hunting, it's very admirable and important work. But a lot of those people who are exposed to those environments often end up having chronic psychic protection issues, and they're experiencing spiritual warfare. Eventually that does start to happen. It's unfortunate, but it's like it's just a natural side effect. So I know I'm going around in circles a little bit, but hopefully that helps to answer your questions. Let's see. Phyllis is saying, I knew that the pendulum worked on my energy. I never equated the pendulum energy and muscle testing. Yeah, it's basically the same. It is the same thing. It is the same thing. It's pretty awesome. So when in my psychic protection mentorship, actually our class that we're having later tonight with my students who are already in the program, some of them are repeat students and some of them are new. And so we're going to be covering the basics of using a pendulum. And tonight we're going to be checking to see if they have any energy cords. So we're not going to go into what energy cords are right now in this video, but they're going to be checking for that, whether they have energy cords from any people in their life. And then we're also going to be using the pendulum to check yes or no if they have any energy cords from any spirits, any spiritual beings. So any energetic attachments. That's what a cord is. It's like an electrical cord or a hose attached from you to a person or a spiritual being. And that's what we're going to be practicing and checking in tonight's class, among a lot of other things that we're going to be working on as well. Okay, everybody, now's your chance to ask any questions. Do you have any other questions about that topic or anything else? So, and it's October, and so this is the time when people It's kind of the time of year when people like to dabble with stuff, whether it's a Ouija board or something else. Just, just keep in mind that if you're dabbling with stuff, then that can end up creating issues. And if you're not very knowledgeable, then you might not know how to resolve the issue. So just be just be aware. I have some colleagues who have played like spirit games where they're like calling on, I don't know, you do this little ritual and you call on this like spirit that died at that location. You remember when you were a kid, did you ever play, what was it called, Bloody Mary, where you look in the mirror and spin around? I don't remember what that was. But like, I know adults who play those games, and they think that it's a lot of fun. And again, total respect to everybody. But when I see them posting that stuff, I'm like, why? Why? I know it sounds fun. I know it sounds exciting and everything, but I guess my vantage point is that I end up helping people who are having horrific situations, and I've had some myself, which is why I got into this work. And so I'm just like, why would you even, Okay, so Dina is saying, what about tarot cards and how are they different from oracle cards? Okay, so real quick, that's a great question, by the way. So tarot cards are almost exactly the same as oracle cards. Now I'm giving a very simplistic answer here. Let me just see here. I don't have any tarot cards within arm's reach, but I'm just going to show you. These are oracle cards, and they are cards that have different images and themes on each one. And so if you shuffle the cards, you focus on a question, and then you turn over the cards to get your answer, right? So when you are using, and I am going to answer your question, but I'm going to go around the circle. When you're using oracle cards and you're focusing on like, what's the best route that I should take with the relationship issue that I'm having with so-and-so, and you shuffle your cards and you lay 3 cards down, and then you look at them and you kind of meditate on them and see what kind of answers come to you. So just pointing out that you're not asking spirits to pull the cards for you or to give you the messages. These are, the cards are used for you to tap into your own inner knowing. Now, some people do choose to ask their angels to help, which I have no problem with that. There's no problem with that as long as you're calling on asking for beneficial assistance. But just generally speaking, you should be, connecting with your own inner guidance when you're using the cards. And the cards help you to focus and get your answer. Rather than if you're just sitting there like ruminating about the issue, then sometimes you have trouble figuring out what to do and figuring out what the answer is. But if you can just get quiet and go into meditation and maybe pick a couple of cards, pray about it, then you can get some guidance and maybe receive some ideas that you might not have otherwise. Now, if you're using tarot cards are literally just a certain kind of, they're a specific kind of oracle cards. Tarot cards are like just a certain kind of oracle cards that have a certain structure to them, and there are suits of cards. So they're exactly like oracle cards. They're just organized a specific way. So tarot cards are an example of something that standard religion has put a lot of fear into people about, because tarot cards, so I guess what I would boil it down to is, if the tool or the activity is purposely calling on spirits or creating a portal, an opening for random spirits to pass through, then you want to avoid that. Okay. If the activity is in any way calling on evil spirits to help you, then you don't want to do that either. A lot of standard religions have put a lot of false information out there about tarot cards. A lot of fear-based information saying, and it's really more of an extension that anything that is not of our religion is from the devil, right? It's from the devil, and it's like evil. I've even heard very fundamentalist people say that working with Reiki, doing Reiki healing, is calling on evil spirits. That you're calling on evil spirits to do the work. I've been studying Reiki for over 20 years. I'm a double certified Reiki master, and there is nothing ever about working with evil spirits. And so it's complete, false, incorrect, backward information. And all respect to everybody of different faiths out there. But the truth of the matter is that there's just a lot of fear-based teachings. And those fear-based teachings, the real intent behind them is to keep people from exploring outside of that little bubble. Okay, so keep that in mind. I know a lot of people who watch my videos are kind of new to exploring outside of the box. New, or maybe a few years into your journey, but still trying to figure out, how does all this spiritual stuff fit in with the faith that you grew up with and everything. So you know that I will give you straight answers, because I have a lot of respect for every faith out there. But really, truly, there is a lot of misinformation, and it's very fear-based, and it's fear-based on purpose. Okay, so what I tell you about the Ouija board is not coming from that like automatic reflex, fear-based, anything that's not XYZ religion is from the devil. Like, that's not where I'm coming from. I'm coming from a very prudent point of view with the things that I've observed and experienced. Okay, I love that you asked that question, Dina. It's such an important one. A lot of people who've been raised with certain faiths have that question, and when they see that I'm using oracle cards, they and I don't tend to use tarot cards, but it's only because I just haven't been drawn to use them, because they have a certain structure, and I tend to work more intuitively and very open. So I'll pick a card, and then that gets my intuitive messages flowing, right? So let's see here. So I don't use a lot of tarot cards, but it's just a personal choice for me and how I work intuitively. Jeannie says, people are going with their fears. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Jeannie says, you are correct, Maya. Well, thank you. Charles is saying, hey there, old buddy. Hey, Charles. How you doing? Charles, tell us where you're watching from. And lots of love right back at you, buddy. Phyllis is responding to Jeannie's comment. Religion teaches you to be fearful. Yes, there is some of that out there. The thing is, so we're kind of going down the religion rabbit hole here. The thing is there are some religious paths that do. And I know some of you personally, and I know that some of your backgrounds did involve the fear-based kinds of teachings. And just also remembering that not all religions are fear-based, but I know that many of us have been impacted by those fear-based doctrines, I will call them. Jeannie is saying, yes, it does. Charles, I'm watching from my basement in Iowa. Cool. Phyllis, I've seen many people use tarot in so many ways. Yeah, exactly. So tarot and oracle cards and any tool can be used in a variety of ways, and you'll see people integrate it in also with their own spiritual practices. So there are people who are New Age, people who are pagan, people who are like liberal Christian, people who are, fill in the blank, like anything who might use pendulum, oracle cards, etc. So, and any of those tools can be used anyways. And I'm sure that there are times when they're used in negative ways, but that has no reflection on the tools. It's how the person is choosing to use it. Edith, where'd your comment go? Some say the origin of the tarot is Egyptian, but it is more likely that it originated in the Italian Renaissance. Yes, see, I'm actually not an expert in that, and I won't try to pretend to be. But thank you for sharing that. Definitely. Yeah, that's not my expertise. Yes, thank you. Charles, when I was able to kick the dogmatic practices, I was able to advance spiritually. Yeah, I agree with that. I can see how that would be the case. Phyllis is saying, at least in my religious tradition, that was true for you. Yeah, yep. Yeah, I know. And Phyllis, we've talked before. I'm also trying to keep it really open so that it doesn't in any way sound like we're bashing all religion. It's like there's so many different experiences out there. And yes, there's a lot of fear-based stuff. I was raised with that stuff too. A different path, a different faith tradition, but definitely fear-based stuff. The idea was to like keep you small and not empowered, right? Not empowered, not tapped in intuitively yourself. Edith is saying, it is not what religion you have, but what you do with it that counts. Yes, this is, I preach this a lot to, I don't think of myself as a preacher, but I do preach this a lot to when there's people who will have an automatic negative conclusion about anyone who practices any pagan or witchcraft or anything like that. People who have immediate negative connotations about anybody who practices pagan paths. And I'm constantly preaching to people that there's nothing wrong with that path. You think that there's something wrong with it because you were raised in a tradition that taught that anything outside of this bubble is from the devil. Right. And so it's a beautiful path. There's so many different aspects of the pagan, pre-Christian religious beliefs, and then also neo-pagan and etc. And it's how you use it. So there are people in all of the different pagan paths, Christian, Judaic, what else? I mean, just like everything. I know I'm leaving a ton out. Like there are people who use it for good, people who use it for evil. So it's not the religion, it's what you do with it. So there's people who cast like hexes and curses and stuff like that, and that's bad, obviously. And then I've also seen Christians praying negatively about someone, which was actually, I mean, according to my definition, they were cursing the person. They were praying for certain government officials, that they would be clouded with doubt and that they would be confused and that they would have these bad things happen to them. And that is no different than cursing someone from like, Santeria or doing some, so every faith, I think you get my drift. Every faith can be used for good or bad. And there's beauty and positive practices in pretty much every spiritual path out there. Edith is saying, all religions help people in some way, otherwise they would not exist. Yes, and we have so many different personalities on the planet, and so each person is drawn to what works best for them and how they, whatever path helps them to connect with divine or their life purpose or their own essence or whatever it is. Each person is drawn to what works best for them. Melissa is saying, thank you. I understand now. You are very welcome, Melissa. Okay, so we started off talking about the difference between Ouija boards and pendulums. And this was a great discussion, you guys. Instead of being a Q&A, it was an awesome discussion. I really appreciate it. We ended up going down a couple of other cool rabbit holes, talking a little bit about oracle cards as well, tarot cards, and even diving into some aspects of religions and fear-based beliefs and that sort of thing. And so my hope is that we will all work to embrace a level of acceptance to all different kinds of faiths. And my hope is also that as you're learning more and more about spirituality, that you will always run everything through your own filter, your own personal guidance system. So no matter what I say or whatever any other spiritual teacher tells you, that you will run it through your own system and see what resonates best for you. And my hope is that you will follow your own guidance system. And as you do, that it will keep you safe and empowered and walking a path of love. Thanks, everybody. See you next time. Bye.